Welcome to the Single Father Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Donaker. This podcast is dedicated for anyone out there who's dealing with mental health and fatherhood. You'll hear about my struggles, my defeats, my victories, my highs, my lows, my triumphs, my tribulations, and everything in between. I like to call this a collection of journal entries into my struggle and adapting to single fatherhood. Without further ado, let's take a look inside my journal, the Single Father Podcast. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and otherwise. It is your host, Kendall Donaker, aka Father DZ, giving you another episode of the Single Father Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Today's a little different. I had some things going on in my life that stressed me out, and I think we're going to talk about it next week on next episode. However, today, I want to do something just fun. I want to do something relaxing. I wanted to give you guys a little bonus episode, if you will, into kind of my life and a little bit of my personality. So I wanted to go over something. Well, if any of you know me, you guys know I'm a very big movie and TV guy. I love being a homebody. I love staying at home, watching movies. I love TV. And over the course of me literally buying every single streaming service, I've actually created a list on each and every one of my streaming services on the TV shows that I like. The list is just strictly TV shows. I'm not sure why. I just felt like TV shows, it's a nice date. Like you put on a nice TV show and you have something to watch together, or I watch it, back with myself. I don't know why it's just TV shows, but it is. So on every single streaming service, I have a list of TV shows that I like. I'm going to go over them with you, starting with Netflix, and just give you kind of a rundown on some of the shows that I'm watching. And I thought that would be a fun bonus episode just to kind of switch it up a little bit and give you guys a nice little insight. And next week, we'll get back into the nitty gritty and deep stuff and talk about Thanksgiving and family and all of that good stuff and some of that negative stuff. So, all right, without further ado, let's get into it. So the first on my list here is going to be, we're starting with Netflix. The first on the list is going to be Manifest. I got to admit, Manifest is one of those shows that started off interesting and then kind of lost me. It's on my list because I want to give it another look. I wanted to give it another second chance. It's kind of like Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, I'm not sure where that streams on, but it was on my list for a while. Just shows that, I want to pick back up again. Walking Dead started out really interesting, started out really amazing, and then completely lost me and got really boring. And that's kind of how I feel about Manifest. We'll see. The next on my list is called Unsolved Mysteries. I know a lot of ladies out there especially are really big murder mystery, kind of fans. And that's really what I love and what I'm into. I love a good mystery. I love a good murder mystery podcast and unsolved mysteries, talking about real crimes, about basically just what it is, unsolved mysteries. It's so interesting, and I just absolutely love it. Amazing, amazing. The next one on my list is called True Story. I am not going to lie. I completely forgot what this show is even. Oh, I do know what it's about. So yeah, True Story is awesome. It's a little mini series with Kevin Hart, and it's where Kevin Hart doesn't actually play the funny guy, really. I mean, he plays a funny guy kind of in the show, like kind of a meta thing, but he's not comedy in this show. It's kind of a more serious drama mystery show, which I really love. It was a really big switch up for Kevin Hart, and I just was totally into it. Another show that I watched was Cowboy Bebop. I only watched this show because the new one that Netflix put out was so terrible. It was just awful and just utterly unwatchable. I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry to everyone who's involved, but it was unwatchable. And I remember everyone saying that just the original animated show was amazing, and I had to watch that. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. Give it a shot. I love Cowboy Bebop. Oh my God, what an amazing story. Just a One Piece story. It was amazing. Not to be confused with the animated show One Piece. I don't mean that. I mean, it was just a original one-off story. I just loved it. The next on my list is, you'll hear a lot of anime on here. It's called Beastars. Beastars, I wouldn't say it made the list because it just hit that interesting mark to me. Like, it was just enough interesting where I enjoyed, like, I'd come back and watch the next episode. But it barely made the list. It wasn't that great. The next one on my list is Flash. On the CW Flash. I'm a big, superhero fan. But the Flash, I'd say the first 2 seasons were amazing, and then this is another one of those shows that just kind of got boring and lost me, unfortunately. So maybe I'll pick it back up again and see kind of what happened, but I prefer kind of looking at clips online for now. It got really boring, but it does make the list because the first 2 episodes were really great. Supernatural is the next on my list. Everyone loves Supernatural, right? It's one of those shows that lasted so long, you can just, it's kind of like, in a way, truthfully, it's kind of like The Office. You know how you put on The Office, it doesn't matter what show, what episode it's on, you can just start it and enjoy yourself. It's kind of how I feel about Supernatural. I put on an episode, I really like it, and I have a good time watching the show. I wouldn't say it's the best thing I've ever watched, but it is a really, really good show. The next thing on my list is going to be You. Everybody knows You. You. I've been following you for a while. It's amazing how you. Wasn't that creepy? No, I really love You. It's a great show. Really creepy, serial killer-ish. I'm into those type of shows. I like it a lot. The other one is a dubbed show on Netflix, but it's still really good. It's called How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. I really like this show. It was a little quirky at times, but I really loved it. And it's dubbed, so if that doesn't bother you, or if it does bother you, then maybe it's not for you. But I really, really like this show. The other one was Lucifer. Everybody loves the Lucifer show. I really love this show. And this is another one of those shows that's exactly like The Office. You put on an episode, doesn't matter what episode you're on, you're just enjoying. You can watch it going to sleep. It's a nice show to fall asleep to, but it's also a really great show in general. The ending of this show, the finale, and the way they ended it made absolutely no physical sense, no reasonable sense whatsoever. It baffled me. It made no sense. But overall, good show. The next one's Altered Carbon. I gotta say, Altered Carbon, it's kind of a noir type of show. It's kind of like a undergroundish type of show. Like, maybe you like it, maybe you wouldn't. It's kind of like a sci-fi thriller. I love it, though. I'd say, without a doubt, the first season is phenomenally better than the second. And there might be 3 seasons actually, but the first season is just almost poetry. It's just phenomenal. I love it. If you ever want to watch something a little unique and different, a little dark sci-fi, Altered Carbon. Wow. The next one's Arrow. Arrow from the CW. Again, another superhero show. I'm a fan of superhero shows. I really like this show. I like probably the first and second season the most, and then it got super boring, just like The Flash. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it all the way through, and and to be honest with you, it might remove from my list because I don't think I ever plan on finishing all the episodes, to be honest with you. So I'm gonna call that a heater right down the middle. Not sure about that show. The other one's Mindhunter. Mindhunter, phenomenally good show. It's about 2 psychologists that interview serial killers and try to get a read on them and try to figure out what the definition of serial killers mean and get inside their psyche. It's really, really interesting, and I love it. They're supposed to make another season eventually. Who knows? But we'll see. The other one is Queen's Gambit. Everyone loves Queen's Gambit, right? A really, really great show. It's about chess, which I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to get on this show because I'm like, I don't want to watch a show about chess. I fucking hate chess. It sounds boring. It's probably the most boring thing ever. And it's just a damn good written show. I'll tell you what, Netflix has a trend on just making one of the best shows ever. Their movies absolutely suck, but their shows, my God, they're good. The other one is called On My Block. Comedy show, a bit quirky, a bit Nickelodeon-ish, but it's a really good drama show. Um, Teen lovey drama. I mean, I just really love it. It's a really funny and dramatic show, but it's hilarious, and I actually love the way the show ended. The other one, this one is another one that's super underground. It's an animated show. It's called A Devilman Crybaby. This one is super out there, and someone told me, oh, it's one of the best animes, and I tried to watch it, and to be honest, it took me 2 times to really get into it. The first time I watched it, I was like, I'm not feeling this. The second time I watched it, I really got it, and then I watched it all the way through. I wouldn't say it's the best thing I've ever seen, but if you follow the story all the way through, I felt like, hey, that was an interesting story. That's what I'll say about it. It's an interesting story. If you like anime, I think you'll like that show. The other one is probably a cultural classic, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, something that's still going on to this day. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'll say something very maybe unpopular, but it's my full opinion, and it will not ever be changed. The first and second season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a masterpiece. Anything after that is absolute garbage. Garbage. Just, it lacks story. It lacks a meaning. It's just nonsensical nonsense. It's just trash. Absolute trash. The first 2 episodes of this show, a masterpiece. Masterpiece. Anything after that is just absolute garbage. So I highly recommend watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I do not recommend watching anything past the second season. Absolute trash. The other thing on my Netflix list is called The Originals, spin-off of The Vampire Diaries. I know what you're thinking. You watch The Vampire Diaries? You know what? To be honest with you, I did. And I love this show. And if I had to pick, maybe I'm Team Damon, because he's really cool. But my favorite character is Klaus Michelson, and just kind of the tortured soul nuance of him. I really loved it. Just the way, I think he's one of the best villains that there was on television. The way he played emotion and pain and anger, and it was amazing. And him having a daughter, and it kind of resembled my situation at the time, not the vampire stuff, but obviously, but it was amazing. I really loved it. I really loved that show. The way it ended, I gotta say, the way The Originals ended was another one of those things where I felt like, I'm not sure if that fully makes sense. I felt like there would have been a way to save him. Didn't make any sense. But it was beautiful. And sometimes an ending can be beautiful and not make sense. So, the other one was a series of unfortunate events. The one of Jim Carrey I wasn't really a big fan of, but the TV series on Netflix, wow, what a great mystery show. I just really loved it. Kind of got dark too. The other one is probably one of my favorite anime shows of all time. It's Castlevania. Wow, what an amazing show. Again, about vampires. And it was just, it's about Dracula, and I just really loved it. Really dark though, really heavy, but it was amazing. There's orgies and threesomes and vampires and drama and Dracula and blood and gore, and but throughout that all, it was a really good story. That's what I loved about it. Amazing story. The other one on my list is called Behind Her Eyes. Really great story, mystery show, with a crazy ass twist. The other one on my list is High Rise Invasion. This one is kind of like going to a movie where you ever see movies where a guy goes to a movie and it's just like action, boobs, cars, blah, 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 blah. It was kind of like that. And maybe it's just because I'm a guy that I was into it, but it was a pretty good show. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of a mystery dude type of show, but I liked it. The other one should be deleted off my list, to be honest. The other one's Legacies. Again, I was just talking about the originals. A spin-off of the originals is Legacies. It's about Klaus Michelson's daughter. I tried to get into it, and it just and I'm gonna delete it off my list right now. I just cannot get into it. I cannot. It's not good. I didn't like the story. I watched the last episode though because Klaus Michelson was in it, and it was a beautiful ending. Yeah, and I wanted to see more of that universe. But I always liked how they stayed somewhat into kind of normalcy, like vampires, werewolves, and whatever. But once they introduced a genie into Legacies, I was like, okay, you went way too far, and I'm no longer interested. And to be honest, it lost me. It was a little just I did not care for it. The other one was Too Hot to Handle. Everyone knows that show. It's a big kind of, I guess if you're getting warmed up, about to have sex in bed, you watch Too Hot to Handle. It's kind of just basically a hookup show. The other one is an animated show called Yasuki. Yasuki is interesting because the guy Yasuki is actually a real life black samurai that actually lived a long, long time ago. And there's a whole bunch of stories written about him. And there was a movie about him at one point. And the animated show, I don't think it'll ever get a second season. I'm not sure if it did that well, but I thought the first season was actually really good. The other one is White Gold. I forgot what the show's about. What the hell is White Gold about? Oh, it's this kind of Britain show about this guy who's a really cool salesman. It's about this British salesman who kind of sells his way to the top, and he's not the most ethical salesman there is, but it's a really good show. I don't know how to sell that show to you, but I promise it's good. Haunting on Bly Manor. I think everyone is familiar with the show. It's basically a horror series, but it's based in love and drama and mystery. Really love it. The other one is Narcos. Everyone knows Narcos, Pablo Escobar, the story's there. I haven't watched any of the seasons past Pablo Escobar, not for a particular reason. It's just I haven't really been interested, but really good show. The other one's called The Sandman. The Sandman just came out. I gotta tell you, The Sandman is one of the best written shows of all time. I don't know if I go that far, but it's a really damn good show. I'll tell you, the sixth episode of Sandman was some of the best storytelling I've seen in years. The show itself is great. The other one is called Lupin. It's about kind of a how would you call this, a master thief, kind of I don't know, a master in disguise. It's a really great show, and it's very compelling and interesting. The next one is Messiah. Messiah barely made the list because it just interests me enough to keep watching it. It's about this guy who comes back thinking he's Jesus, and all these supposed miracles happen around him. It got really boring at times and really good at times, and it just made the list for me to stay on because it was just interesting enough. The other one is Ozark. Everyone knows Ozark. It's probably one of Netflix's most popular shows. Basically about a money launderer guy who's getting mixed up in the cartel. Really great show. I loved it. The finale, or the series finale, aired not too long ago, and I just loved every bit of it. The other one's called Ratchet. Ratchet's a pretty interesting show. It's about a nurse that basically commits murders, and it was pretty interesting. The other one's Squid Games. Everyone knows Squid Games. I'm not someone who likes to ride the hype wave, so it took me a while to get on this show. But once I watched it, I realized why everyone loved it. Really good show. Another one is just my own personal favorite. It's Top UFO Projects. I'm a big alien UFO guy. I like watching this show because I like aliens and I like believing that they're real, and it was just interesting. The other one is Innocent. It's, again, a dubbed show. It's about this guy who's accused of a murder, goes to prison, and there's a whole mystery and drama and suspense that goes behind on whether he actually committed the murder or not, and things that go along with that. It was very interesting. It's dubbed though, but it's a really good show. The other one is another one of an anime show that I really love. And again, one of my favorite anime shows of all time, Seven Deadly Sins. Seven Deadly Sins. Oh my God. Well, what a great show. There's no bad season in this show. It's just a really good show. A lot of fighting, a lot of action, a lot of blood. Really love this show tremendously, just a lot. The other one's Eden, another anime show. I can't remember what it's really, to be honest, I can't remember what it's about, but it's a really good show, apparently. I'm looking at it and I briefly remember it's kind of just about this, what do you call that? What's the word when it's like post-apocalyptic or something like that? You're cyberpunk, or it's like in the future. I don't know what the word for it is. I think you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's a really good show. The other one is Eden Zero. Same type of deal. Actually, to be honest with you, it's really same type of deal, but it's a really good futuristic show. I love it. Everyone knows Stranger Things. That's my next one. Stranger Things. Love it. 80s. Just, I'm excited to see what happens next. The other one is Dracula. And I mean just Dracula. Just the title is called Dracula. It's a Netflix animated, or not animated. It's a Netflix series. It's about how Dracula survives from maybe like the 1700s now to like 2020. And just such an interesting show. I really loved it all the way through. Love, Death, and Robots. That is an anthology series. Every episode is something different in a really detailed animated form. Sometimes the animation doesn't even look like animation. It looks just like real life. And it's just, in each episode is something different and creative. And they're just like short little stories. And some of them are actually quite beautiful and interesting and shocking. The other one is Arcane. Arcane is like Game of Thrones animated. That was a really good show. I think it's based off a game, by the way, but such a good show. I loved it. The other one is just brand new. It's called Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. It's basically a horror series that just every episode is something different. Like I said before with Love, Death, and Robots. Each episode is a different horror story, and I just loved it. The other one is The Witcher. That one's based on a game. I actually just played that game not too long ago. Love it. The Witcher, great show. Sci-fi, medieval, blah, blah, blah. Really good show. The other one's Sexify. What the fuck is Sexify? What is this show? Oh, I'd say it's more of kind of a female-based show. It's about just college people experiencing sex and shit like that. But it was a really good show. And I feel like that's all I gotta say about that. The other one is Record of Ragnarok. Again, this is one of those shows where it's kind of like going to the movies and it's like the typical guy that's going to see a movie that's like boobs, guns, robots, liquor. That's kind of what the show's about. It's about like how mortals are the best fighters in the world are fighting these gods to see if human race can survive. So they have to go through like a battle with them. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a really good show. The Umbrella Academy. The Umbrella Academy is a really good show. It's about like these time traveling superheroes who just try to save the day on some random shit that happens. And there's these timekeepers. I'm not explaining it really well, but it's hard to explain, but it's a really, really good show. The finale of last season was questionable, but it was a really great show. Dark Desire. Dark Desire is another. What is this actually? Oh, Dark Desire is basically like a Spanish horny drama series, but it was actually really good. There's so much mysteries in that show. It's dubbed, but it was a really good show, and but it's very sexual, very, very sexual show. The other one is Ultraman, another animated series, really good, just based on a guy who found some alien suits or whatever and decided to be a superhero. Love it. The other one is called Blood of Zeus. It's about this. It's about Zeus's son getting sent to Earth and tries to be the hero of Earth and rises above the gods. I love it. I love medieval kind of ancient Greek stories. The other one is Inside Man. There's only 4 episodes of this show. I thought it was really good. It's about a priest who does a lot of crimes, and it's about a guy who's in jail for his wife's murder, but he's super smart, and it looks like he regrets his wife's murder and doesn't. I don't know. It's so interesting. It's a really good show, but there's only 4 episodes. It doesn't make sense that there's only 4 episodes, so it's weird. But it just came out. Really good show. The other one's Breaking Bad. Everyone knows that one. Walter White, drugs, meth lab. The other one is The Lincoln Lawyer. Really good show. It's about a lawyer who It's kind of like Lucifer, but minus the supernatural stuff. And instead of being a detective, he's a lawyer. Really good show. The other one's The Great Pretender. It's about these con artists. And this is an animated show. It's about these con artists that go through a whole bunch of shit to con people. And it's just a really, really good show. Amazing story, by the way. The other one is probably my favorite animated series of all time. My favorite. It's because the story is so amazing. It's called Death Note. Everyone knows Death Note. You put your name in a book, someone dies, you get the power of the gods in your hand or in a book. I think it's one of the best well-written animated shows of all time. There's a movie that came out that was absolutely trash. But Death Note, my favorite animated series of all time. The story, the mystery, fucking amazing. The ending is so beautiful. Super Crooks. It's basically these superheroes that turn super villains, but they're not actually villains or anti-heroes, it's about these, and they're crooks and they're trying to get away with crimes, and there's this guy who's like Superman and he's trying to outsmart everyone. It's so interesting. I love it. The other one is called Inventing Anna. Everyone knows that show. It's about this girl from New York who cons everyone into believing she's a Russian empress and starts a business, ends up failing, and she gets caught and then goes to jail and blah, blah, blah. The other one is called Hero Mask. It's about this detective. It's an animated show that I don't know how to describe the show. It's about a detective who just goes through a whole bunch of shit to try to prove that he's right. And it's such a good show. The other one is Travelers. Travelers is another Netflix show that just is fucking amazing. It's about these time travelers that go back in time to try to fix things and make sure that the world isn't destroyed in their future. A really good show. The other one's Black Mirror. Everyone knows Black Mirror. It's an anthology episodes of different Twilight Zone type shit. Really good. The other one is BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman, and that's the final one on my list, by the way, for my Netflix list, it's a show that really is true and dear to my heart, because it's a comedy animated show, but it deals with real shit. It deals with real problems and depression, and it kind of shows you how to deal with depression and shows what depression looks like and how to face it. And it teaches you lessons kind of along the way too. And it's really deep and heartbreaking at times, and it can be sad at times. It can be funny at times. And man, I love BoJack Horseman. So that's it. That's my Netflix list. And over the next couple months or so, we'll pop in another bonus episode to talk about another streaming service. We'll go to HBO Max, we'll go to Hulu, we'll go to Disney, and I'll talk about my lists on each one of those. And I'll make these kind of the little fun bonus episodes for you guys that kind of switch it up when I'm feeling kind of too stressed to talk about the real shit in life. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I hope you guys liked this little switch up, and I hope that some of the descriptions I gave on my Netflix list is something that you'd watch with a partner or a friend or a date, or just watch on your own, because they're fucking good. I promise you. So the next thing I'll do is I'll move into the next segment of my podcast, which is called Mailbag. And I'll just be reading off some of the questions or concerns or just general comments that you guys had for the show. So if you have a question that you want to be answered on the show, all you have to do is email me at hello@ventpack.org, and in the subject line, type of mailbag and type in your question. And if you want a guaranteed question read, I can't guarantee that I'll read all of the questions by email, but if you want a guaranteed question read, then go to our Patreon. It's Patreon / the Single Father Podcast, and there's different tiers you can join. I'll shout out your names at the end of the episode, and maybe you can guaranteed get one of your questions answered. So without further ado, let's go into mailbag. And this one's coming from Anonymous. If you had to go back and change anything from your past relating to your daughter, what would you do? Good question. What would I change? Well, that depends on kind of what you're asking. Are you asking what would I change in general about the situation, or just with my daughter? I wouldn't change anything about my daughter. There's things that I wish I mean, as a parent, sometimes especially as a single parent, you can kind of just snap sometimes and be like, God damn it, blah, 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 blah. And, I think about it every time that, she's away from me about maybe something that I said and I feel bad. And I'm like, maybe I should just be more calm. And that's one thing that I'm really trying to accept in my life right now, especially with my daughter, is to let things go and let things be as they be. Meaning if, she spills water on my floor and pretends it's a pool, yeah, I'm going to be like, yeah, don't do that. But am I going to freak out? No. You know what I mean? If she knocks something over and I have to clean it up later, I'm not going to freak out. You know what I mean? I'm now learning that I should just kind of let things be and just chill out. She's only 4 years old. She's a toddler. She's going to do stupid shit. Just chill out. But what would I change in general? I'm not sure. My friend just called me not too long ago, asking advice about his child, since he's having a kid himself. And I thought, maybe one of the things that I wish I did was just be all in with her mother, just to kind of see what would happen, and maybe I'd end up in the same position. Maybe we'd still end up not liking each other. But there was a lot of reasons that her and I that didn't work out, and I couldn't get there emotionally. But sometimes I wonder what would happen if I just really went all in and tried. Would I be in the same position? But I don't dwell on it, because what happened, and I feel like everything happened for a reason, and here I am. And yeah, so that's that. Next question from Anonymous. So what are the sorry, I messed that up. What's some of the things that you do to calm your daughter down when she's angry? Well, we do a lot of take a deep breath. So I say, Layla, take a deep breath. And sometimes she's so emotional where she's like, I can't. And she cries, and she's really trying, and she's working herself up, and she cries and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm like, Layla. And I put my hand on her chest. And I just say, I'm here. Take a deep breath. I'm right here, baby. Take a deep breath. And eventually she'll calm down. She'll take a deep breath, and we'll do a couple of those together, and then she'll be okay. And that kind of goes back to the question a little bit. Is I try to calm myself down here too, because if she's upset and I'm upset, it's like a tornado meets a volcano. It doesn't work. So I try to just relax and put my hand on her chest and say, take a deep breath. And usually that works. She's really good at, I don't know how to say it. She's really good at making sure that herself is okay. So yeah. Next question from Anonymous. How was your Thanksgiving? My Thanksgiving was really good. We'll talk more about that next episode. There's a lot of things that happen after Thanksgiving. I think just having family around and it being the holidays, you always end up with some emotions, and we'll definitely talk about it. But Thanksgiving itself, it was really good. I got to spend it with my daughter, and I had a good time. I really did. And I cooked this whole time. I cooked everything by myself for my family. I went to Costco. I got a whole bunch of stuff. I warmed up the oven. I made a turkey. I made mac and cheese. I made yams. I made green beans. I made everything by myself. And I cooked for my whole family. And it felt really good. And I think I'm going to keep that tradition for my daughter. Every year I'll try to host Thanksgiving at my house. And I think that'll be a really nice treat. Just a sort of family tradition like that. This podcast is sponsored by Keys AI. Guys, if you're single or struggling with dating, I think you're going to be very interested in what I have to say next. If you've ever used a dating app, you know that they're a huge pain. But what if I told you that there was a virtual wingman that worked on every dating app? That's exactly what the guys over at Keys AI have built. Keys AI is your virtual wingman that suggests exactly what to say to land your next match. I've used Keys AI on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, and let me tell you, it is an absolute game changer. I won't even use dating apps without it now. If you want to start getting more dates immediately, then download Keys AI for free at thekeys.ai or search Keys AI in the App Store. Guys, what are you waiting for? Download this app today. Anyways, sorry, I thought I heard something in my house and I got not frightened, but I was like, how did that slip by me that someone came in my house and robbed me without me knowing? But anyways, next question. What? All right, that's an inappropriate question. All right, I wish I could share that one, but I cannot. What the fuck? Next question. What would you do differently if you were together with someone right now instead of being a single father? I don't know what you mean by that. What would I do differently with the podcast, or what would I do differently in life? I'll answer both questions. What would I do differently with the podcast? Well, obviously, it depends. That also kind of depends on what you mean. If it was if me and her mother never broke up, or if I was with someone since day one, there probably would be no single father podcast, to be honest with you. But what I do differently if I had someone now, probably nothing. I think the person that I'm with would be understanding of the title being what it is. And I would try to integrate a relationship within the podcast as much as possible. But, in life, nothing is ever certain. So would I change the name of my podcast just because I have a girlfriend? No, I really wouldn't. So what would I do differently if I had a girl in my life in general? Like I said, I don't think the podcast would exist, but I don't know. I'd be having more money to spend, I guess. I'm not sure. What happened with that girl? This is another question. What happened with that girl that you were dating not too long ago? The girl I was dating just recently, actually, she well, I think we moved a little fast. And I think that contributed to why we're not together. But, I'm not sure if she really wanted to be a stepmom, and that's totally understandable because, number one, I wasn't really asking to be a stepmom, but, when you're my age, 27, 28, and you're thinking about the rest of your life, you got to decide what do you really want? And I'm not sure if she really wanted a kid in her relationship. Because I mean, I will admit, when you're dating me, you are accepting that there is another kid. Well, there is a kid within this relationship as well. And it doesn't have to be right away, but you have to accept that. And I don't think that she was ready to accept that. And that's that. I wish her all the best. It didn't last long, so it didn't really bug me too much. I'm sad to say, and respectfully, but oh well. Yeah. Next question is, what do you use for your podcast? Like what hosting platform? I use Speaker. I feel like, you did at the end there. He says, what do you use for your podcast? Do you use Anchor? I do not use Anchor. I used to use Anchor, and nothing against Anchor. It's not really a great podcast to make a lot of money on, to be honest with you. So, and to kind of monetize yourself. And I feel like Speaker was a better platform to do that for me. And whether it's Speaker or wherever I go next, I'm not sure. But right now I'm happy. And it's a really good platform for me to release episodes on. Next question. Do you see yourself doing this full time ever? Yeah, I mean, I've been asked this before, but in a different way. When it comes to my goals, the goals I have for the podcast is to grow and to monetize and to ask you guys to like, subscribe, and share, and to grow my audience. And eventually I feel like I could do this full time. I'm not sure. I'm not in the position to do it right now, but I'm always looking at new creative options and ideas and how to grow the podcast. So if you want to support the podcast in any way, go to Patreon. slash the Single Father Podcast, and you can just support the podcast for like $5 a month, price of a cup of coffee. And it will allow us to grow and create better episodes and get amazing guests on the show and et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. All right. Next question. Have you ever invited a guest on your show and they said no? Yes, I have. I had someone that I really, really wanted on my show, and I feel like it was reasonable for them to do it, and they did say no, and I'm not sure why. We were negotiating for a while, and I just I don't want to go too much into it, but they did say no, and I don't want to say who, because maybe I can still get them on one day. We'll see. All right, a couple more questions. I'm gonna do rapid fire here. What do you look for in a woman? What do I look for in a woman? Just really someone who is down to earth, can make, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I will get a little vulnerable here. There's this song that I really love, and it's called "Lend Me Your Voice," and it's by this movie that I really like. Let's see, "Lend Me Your Voice" by Belle. The movie's called Belle. I think it's on HBO Max. And it's this song about a girl just saying, just let me in, let me help you. You can tell me everything that you wouldn't tell anyone else, and I'm here for you, and I love you. And I just, it sounds sappy, but it's really kind of everything I wanted to hear from a woman. I just felt like sometimes I'm like a broken-hearted man, just kind of walking around waiting for a woman to put me back together. And listen, that doesn't mean I'm looking for a mommy by any means, right? But I really would like a partner who can accept me for who I am and laugh with me and be there for me and let me vent to them like I vent to you guys. And there's something beautiful about having someone who can just look at your soul and be there for you. Look at your soul and just accept the love that's in your heart, and someone who can just look at your soul and just say, I love you. I think there's something so amazing about that. And I don't know, that's going way deep, but really I'm just looking for a girl who's cool and funny and makes me laugh and I get along with, blah, 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 the usual stuff. Let's see. The next question. Why do you think you're not in a relationship right now? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Next question. This one's inappropriate. All right. I'm going to answer just a few more here. Do you plan on ever getting a co-host? I answered this question before. I don't think it really makes sense for me to get a co-host right now. It would depend on what that looks like. But the way my schedule is and things like that, I think the brand is myself. There will be opportunities for people to vent with me on the podcast for sure, but through Patreon. But as far as a co-host, I think the brand really just kind of fits me as of right now. So never say never, but I think as of right now, I'm pretty content where it's at. Next question. Let's see here. I answered that one. I think we're good for right now. Yeah. So guys, thank you very much for being a subscriber, for listening, for supporting me, for just being there for me. I love doing this. I love venting with you guys. And please like, subscribe, share this episode, comment, leave a review, and just click that 5-star review. It just really helps me and the podcast and allows us to grow and all that good stuff. Check out our Patreon if you want to support us. If you want to support the podcast, just $5 a month. That's all it takes. It's amazing. And I'll shout out your name at the end of every episode. That's all it takes, really. Just launch the Patreon. So just check it out. Visit our shop. Just check out some merch that we have on the podcast. It's shop.ventpack.org. You can look at our stuff on Facebook and Instagram, which is just at the Single Father Podcast. Make sure you follow us there. Thank you guys so much for just allowing me to vent with you. And until next time, I'm your host, Kendall Donaker, aka Father DZ. And let's vent together soon. Bye-bye.